Now, you see where the memory processing area is, right? Basically, what they do is they have a frequency, or they have like this light. It's a near infrared laser light frequency that basically is attached, or it's linked to your memory processing area of your brain. They can either send or transmit. They can transmit um, thoughts and ideas into your mind, and this is proven. Just type in, Japanese scientists transfer thoughts and transfer memories between mice or whatever. You'll see it. Trust me, you'll see it. They're definitely doing this stuff now. And we're just the covert human experiment of it all. And they can transmit thoughts and false memories into your mind, but they can also extract thoughts and memories from your mind. Um, yeah. Golly, I was trying to tie all that stuff together, but I keep losing my track of my train of thought. I really need to get me like I hate to say it because I'm trying not to become like that sucked into it, but I need to get me a Magneto helmet. Yeah, I need to get me a Magneto helmet. Something that can basically block all of this. And it's definitely possible because Robert Stanson, YouTuber Robert Stanson, he builds helmets. He builds helmets from scratch because he's also a blacksmith. And he's also been pushing these products. He made these special earplugs that's made from X-ray protecting glass. And he says that glass, when he shaped them into earplugs, when he puts them in, he feels the frequencies, like he feel like the pressure of frequencies trying to penetrate his ears, but it doesn't. Right now I have on like a regular earplug, but it only stops but so much. It only interferes with their frequencies but so much. Um, but what was I gonna say? But anyway, oh right, going back to the beginning. Yeah, there we go. Now I got it back. Going back to the beginning of my targeting, they was like when I told myself, okay, I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna go to the hospital, maybe get evaluated, see what's going on with my mind or whatever. Because I was like, I know quarantine, maybe I got cabin fever and I'm just like hallucinating or whatever the case. But then when I went there, and then I basically, and you can find out all this information in my vlog number 5. I tell the whole story about when all this began. But when I went to the hospital and I told the nurse, I was like, yeah, I was at home, by myself, and I was like, just chilling, watching TV. Then all of a sudden, I heard this voice saying they were going to shoot me in my sleep. And I remember the nurse, nurse didn't even look all that concerned. It was almost as if like she knew exactly what to do. So she basically walked me from this like private area of the emergency intake room into this really crowded area filled with a whole bunch of people. Everybody's doing a number of different things. There's patients, visitors, nurses, doctors. Everybody was doing something. Like nobody was really paying attention to me or anything that another person was going through. Then all of a sudden, when she turned towards this counter, this table, or this counter, this desk, right? This long desk that had about 4 or 5 different. This was at Brookdale Hospital. She turned and looked at this table of about 4 or 5 nurses or doctors, whatever they were. And then she then looked at me and she was like, now tell them what you told me. So I looked around and I'm just like, this feels unprofessional. So, but I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna think about it, because if somebody comes to me and I'm a medical professional and they say, oh, someone was hearing voices, then it's like, okay, let me go somewhere a little bit more where I would feel comfortable. Like that, I know how to make sense of certain human actions, right? So then when I said that, and I know I said it in a decent enough volume, because it was a large space, it was a large room, but I said it in a decent enough volume so that only she standing to my front left, and then that table, that desk of about 4 or 5, of the staff was there. So I told I told them the same thing I told her. But then next thing you know, after the last syllable of me saying, after the last syllable of me saying, I was at home, minding my business, just watching TV, whatever. Then all of a sudden, I heard some voice say they were going to shoot me in my sleep. And in the moment I got to eat after sleep, once I got to eat, all of a sudden, every single person in that room, every single person in that room stopped. Like, they literally stopped, as if like a director just said, cut. And everybody stopped, turned, and looked at me. And then it was like the director said action, and everybody just kept, everybody just continued doing what they were doing. That's when I realized, at that very moment, there is something far more insidious that's happening. Now, fast forward, I remember after I left the hospital, I didn't sleep at all that day. They tried to observe me for like 24 hours or whatever, but yeah, I could tell some other things would still be happening, because it seemed like the staff in that holding area, that observational area, they definitely were probably a part of. They were most likely a part of, because it seemed like all the patients in there knew each other to some degree or whatever. Then there was one patient walking around flicking a razor blade in his hand and whatnot, telling us, he don't realize I got the razor blade on me. So obviously someone was threatening my life if I went to sleep. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to sleep. I don't trust nobody up in here. So yeah, at one point I was just like, nah, I realized I can't get any help from the medical industry. At least not everybody in the medical industry, because I realized there are some people in the medical industry who probably don't know about everything that's going on. And then there are probably some who do know what's going on, but I don't even think they are benefiting from what's happening. Because I remember one time I went to NYU hospital, and I told this one nurse or professional, whatever she was, about the story. And I remember, as I'm telling her what was happening to me, she started breaking down into tears. Like, she really started, like, I mean, like, and I'm thinking, dang, like she must be resonating with this, because I'm just telling her what I was experiencing. Then all of a sudden she just started breaking down into tears. So in my mind, I was like, she knows something. Because it's not clicking to me why she would actually react the way. Because I mean, when I tell you she broke down into tears, like, she really was sobbing as I'm telling her the story, and I'm getting chills right now. That's when I realized, yeah, there's something a lot more insidious that's happening. And then I also realized a lot of the staff, at that NYU hospital basically is involved in all this. I remember when I was being transferred to a bed, the guy transferring me, he was like, he was telling me all this stuff about, he gonna punch me in my neck when I go to sleep, or, I remember, like, they took me to go get an MRI, and They were saying something along the lines like, we're going to erase your memory and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, whatever. you know, that's when I realized I was like, I'm gonna have to go ahead and lean on something that's not of this world, because I already realized there's something far more darker that's happening right now. And I remember they were like, the handlers, they was like, you gotta stop talking about it because you're messing with people's livelihood. So then, going off of that part right there, it got me thinking more and more about it. They're like, you're messing with people's livelihood. You're messing with people's livelihood. And then um I'm thinking about how, throughout history, um it's no secret that God is a very jealous God. God has no problem wiping out an entire civilization for being disobedient. God has no problem with, taking anybody, no matter what age they are, whether you're unborn or you're an elderly person, because every life that is taken is taken for a reason. And I believe in reincarnation. I believe that a lot of people can be, reborn into a new vessel, because energy cannot be destroyed well, unless you're sent to hell, and then that's when your soul is probably destroyed then. um but yeah, I'm realizing that all of this, wait a minute, livelihood, there we go. They keep trying to erase my train of thought as I'm trying to record this. So it's like, I had this thought come over my mind where, okay, have you ever read about the Nephilim? The Nephilim were this society, or it was like a society or a group of people who were basically descendants of, um they were basically, a species of people that were born half angel and half human, because the fallen angels came down to earth, and they were basically having sex with, they would basically have sex with humans, and then they were born from a human, but they created, like, these like half breed, types of people who were like, they were either giants, or you know they looked very different from other people. But then at one point, God destroyed them. you know yeah, God had destroyed them because, they weren't of God's creation. So now it started to click in me even some more today, when they start to say, you don't realize you're messing with people's livelihoods. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, evil has been prospering in our world for a very, very long time, very, very long time. And every time I heard it, you're messing with people's livelihoods, and I'm just like, why do you need technology to survive? Why do you need technology to survive? And I've had that, and I put it on the back of my mind. I put it on the shelf because I was like, I'm gonna come back to it later at some point. I have to be patient and just go ahead and just allow things to just be. I have to allow time um, to just go ahead and just, you know pass, because, when you're blessed by God, and God is going to use you for his will and purpose, the things that you will need to know will be released to you in the time that it'll be most efficient for you to understand. So when they say, like, oh, you're you're messing with people's livelihood, it started to dawn on me. What if, and then also think about think about how all these elites, especially Bill Gates, who have said this, said this many times, on live TV or live broadcast or whatever, about how there are too many people. He says it. There are too many people in the world, and we need to get rid of at least 3 billion. And you know the most interesting, in the book of Revelations, it talks about how a third of the world will be wiped away from the face of the earth, right? A third of the world, and he says 3 billion. Now, there's probably somewhere around 9 billion people on this planet. And they're coming, and then he talks about how there needs to be at least about 3 billion people to be removed from the face of the earth so that we can so-called retain the earth's resources, right? Now they're like, oh, you're messing with people's livelihood. So I started thinking to myself, I'm messing with people's livelihood. And then now I'm thinking to myself, okay, one thing about God is God don't necessarily make mistakes. Everything that God does, it was intentionally done that way. So if you die, you were meant to die. If you were meant to survive something traumatic, something extremely painful, then you were meant to survive it. So if you think about what they're doing with this technology, what if they're basically trying to avoid the inevitable by using technology that was given to them from, fallen angels, or let's say life forms that aren't necessarily from our world? What if they're actually trying to do everything in their technological power to try to avoid the inevitable? What if all of these transhumanist people technically are not supposed to be here? What if they're the ones that's not supposed to be here? But they're using technology to basically prolong their lives, right? But now here's the thing. There's so much focus on using technology to gain access to human emotion, energy, the spirit, how a person is controlled or manipulated, the thoughts that they have. Every single influential person who is in entertainment, whether a movie, whether an actor, actress, a musician, an artist, visual artist or whatever, if they ever mentioned anything about a secret war against the soul, or anything that mentioned that had anything to do with living the most natural life that you can, because that living a natural life will basically be excluding the inclusion of technology and stuff into being integrated into your life. Then it's like, you think about it like that, and then you remember, and then you think about the statement that they, was telling me, you're messing with people's livelihood. What if these transhumanists aren't supposed to be here? So now you pay attention to everything that's happening around the world, especially when you talk about climate change. You talk about the sun's solar activity, the sun's hyperactivity, because, they, like, from what I've heard so far, is that this 11-year cycle has been a lot more active than previous recorded 11-year cycles of the sun. And then you think about how many satellites they've been blasting off into space, and then you got to remember that all of those satellites, they're basically transmitting down like near infrared light that can basically penetrate not just through our atmosphere, our protective layers, but it also can penetrate through the ground. And you think about how there's been an increase of droughts. You think about how there's been an increase of flooding because the ice caps are melting. You think about the increase of earthquakes. You think about the increase of, so many things happening around the world. But yet, they're so adamant about saying you're messing with people's livelihood. So I'm just thinking to myself, naturalists seem to be living just fine until they're mysteriously dying, even though they've been living the most natural and healthiest life that a person can possibly live. Yet they're mysteriously dying. So then it makes you think, who is actually living among us? And I'm, like I said, I'm not trying to incite anything. And I don't suggest no one to just actively go out and try to, question everybody or interrogate anyone. Don't even really entertain it to that degree. The best thing you could do is find everything you need to do to protect your peace. Protect your peace. You can control everything that you think, do, and say. Now remember, they're going to use technology to transmit and input things into your mind, but you also have the ability to acknowledge morally what feels wrong and what feels right. You have a natural ability to acknowledge what feels right and what feels wrong. The battle starts in your mind first. They will transmit ideas and thoughts into your mind, but it's your duty and it's your objective to decipher what is right and what is wrong. People put so much emphasis on religion and stuff, and it's like, no, scratch all that. What is the message of the scripture? What is it truly saying? Pay attention to the message. Pay attention to the message. Because it is the message itself that is what's going to actually teach you and give you the fulfillment that you need to be able to outlast the principalities that are in control. The dark ones that sit in high places. That's from Ephesians. Like you see, I was literally sitting here and I just not too long ago finished reading it all. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, there we go. So, I'm gonna just read this one part. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna do. Okay, so I'm gonna read just two parts of Ephesians, right? So, just remember, this stuff is written centuries ago. But when you read it and listen to the words that I'm telling you, because when you hear it, you're going to associate it with things that you have already been seeing and you already innately felt was wrong with the world. This is Ephesians 2, chapter 2, right? Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2. Wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Right? It says, wherein time past we walked according to the course of this world. That part basically saying that, if you weren't necessarily chosen by God to, live a particular life, or maybe you've been completely blinded for so long. You were you were living your life according to how others are living their lives too. If it wasn't fulfilling to the spirit, but you were fulfilling your fleshly desires and things of that sort, you were living according to how everybody else was. Now it says, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. The prince of the power of air, that is referring to Lucifer. That is literally referring to the fallen angel Lucifer, Lucifer morning star. And it says the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Now everyone who basically are claiming that they, don't necessarily believe in a God, or they don't believe in punishment, or they don't believe that, in such a thing as karma, or they don't believe in, they don't believe that every action that they have has a positive and negative reaction. They are already controlled by the prince of the power of air. And when your vibration, when your spiritual energy is low enough, you will be manipulated. It will be much easier to get a hold of you. If you're depressed, it will be much easier for, harmful thoughts to enter and then stay, and then basically plant itself into your mind. If you are not if you're not up here spiritually, anything that comes into your mind will be able to take its place, and then just completely just have its home right in you, right? Now, that was that part. Now, this other part I wanted to get to. This is Ephesians. Let me see. This is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. It says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand the evil day, and having done all, to stand." Yeah. Oh, I just got some more chills. And I'm like, you know what? I've never been a preachy type, and I still don't consider myself a preachy type, but I believe in morality. I believe in, I believe in what's right and what's wrong. There are millions, and I mean millions, of people in this world right now that are not going to spiritually make it. Because out of fear, they allowed themselves to be consumed and controlled and manipulated by those who have given themselves over to darkness. Whether it was fear of not having enough money, or fear of losing their home, or fear of losing their life, you gotta remember, if you have real faith in the spirit, in everything that is good in the spiritual world, you're never going to die. You're only leaving your body behind, but your spiritual energy, your life force won't die. But how the principalities of evil, how they basically manipulate you is to make you fear death. Because why? They need you in order for them to survive. There's a reason why when you think of multiple dimensions and you think about how spirits can't necessarily interact with the physical world unless you allow them to, there's a reason why they use technology to induce fear into you. Because if you have fear, you will not, if you allow fear to basically take over you, you will not be aware enough to have the strength or to seek the strength necessary to fight off or fight against a deity or a demon or someone trying to infiltrate into your vessel and take possession of you. Yeah. So, and just like how there's been like you gotta remember, you can't have change in the world if no one is willing to sacrifice themselves so that others can benefit from your courage. Because that's the only way that you actually get change. I mean, we wouldn't have civil rights if it wasn't for those who were a part of the civil rights movements. People had to sacrifice their lives knowing what they were up against, a system of principalities, it was a system of dark dealings that basically suppressed people of color from living normal lives and human rights and living normally like every human should be able to. There's a reason why even in some parts of like China, wherever, all over the world, there's a reason why there are specific people who basically said, no, we can't just allow you to just do what you want and then think we're not going to fight for our right to be human beings. We are not cattle. We are not we're not property. We are spiritual beings living in a world that's filled with so much of like everything. I mean, honestly, the earth in itself is in between everything that's between good and evil. So light and dark. Earth is in the middle ground. But yeah. And then when I think about how they're like, oh, you're messing with people's livelihoods, and you pay attention to what they're doing with augmented reality or they're trying to do with technology, and they got all these like when we think about hearing aids, and there was an article I was reading earlier today. Strangely enough, it was an article, matter of fact, August 16, 2022, that's when the article came out. Go to weforum.org, I think, the World Economic Forum website, right? And then you just type in ethics, augmented reality, and then the article should pop up. Like they just recently posted it. Like I said, August 16, 2022. And it talks about how technology is so cool, it's amazing, it can help so many people who are in need, and people who are probably suffering from depression or hearing loss or visual, or they maybe they're blind or whatever the case may be. it talks about how all of this technology is supposed to be helping others. And then for a very small section at the bottom, at the bottom of the article, after it hypes you all up about everything that's cool about technology, there's a small section that talks about the ethics of augmented reality. It doesn't even really hit on, not even it don't even really touch on exactly what they need to say. Why? Because the World Economic Forum can't let everybody know what can actually possibly be done wrong. I mean, it mentions about um, how Dick Cheney had his pacemaker modified so it couldn't be altered or hacked. Right? They're pushing the entire world into this digital thing, right? But yet they're not mentioning anything or doing much of anything to talk about how they'll prevent people from being hacked, or how economies that are moving fully digital from being hacked. But yet they're trying to push everything into becoming digital. This is how I can see the setup coming. I could see it as clear as day. They can't even protect hospitals from being hacked. Hospital records. They can't protect banks from being hacked. When you think about deep fake voice and deep fake videos, law enforcement is struggling with trying to decipher what's a real video and what's a fake video. What's a real voice from a fake voice. There's a story out there not too long ago about a CEO. Well, this VP of a company. He said that he had received a phone call from the CEO saying, "I need such and such $1 million transferred to a some offshore account, whatever," and then the VP did it. Then he was like, hours later or the next day, he gets an actual phone call from the CEO, and the CEO is like, "Why did you? What was this? Several $1 million that you transferred to this account, whatever." And then the VP was like, "You told me to do it." But then the CEO was like, "No, I did not." So it's like, you think about that, and it's like, how are they gonna move everything into a digital? How are they gonna move everything digital? But they can't even protect the little things that's digital right now. They can't even protect all that. So now they're gonna try to move everything into digital. Let alone, people are secretly having digital copies of their person put on a cloud server somewhere that most people don't know about unless you're a part of the secret society or whatever. I mean, like, this is some dark stuff right here. This is some dark stuff right here. And it's like, this is one of the reasons why I'm like, you know what? Detox. And I remember, like, growing up, you hear people talking about detoxing all the time and stuff like that. But when this stuff really started happening, that's when I started really doing some research and looking into all this, and I was just like, yo, now I really see the importance of detoxing. Then once you start to see people like Dr. Sebi, that French guy, he died in like the early 2000s, I believe. Well, no, it was like 1997, I think, when he died. It was a French guy who was like a conspiracy theorist. There was a whole movie made about him too that Mel Gibson starred in. I forgot what was it called. He was talking about basically gang stalking and secret societies and whatnot, and they basically took him out for talking about it. And then you look at Prince, as you see in the beginning of the video, and you look at Michael. They went hard after Michael. And you just, hell, I wonder about Robin Williams. But so many people, Princess Diana, John Lennon, You know, yeah, there's so many people who were actively trying to let the world know, and they were using their influence because they were in such high places and such influential positions. They were using their influence to try to warn people of what's happening or what's going to happen. But hey, principalities of evil, they're not trying to lose control. They're not trying to lose control. But in the Bible, it tells you that that when you decide that you're going to push back against the principalities, don't be surprised when they push back harder. You know, but at least in the Bible, it tells you not to worry about death in itself, because if you were doing everything that you were supposed to do, that fulfills God's will and His purpose for humanity in the world, don't even worry about dying, because you're not actually going to die. You're just going to actually be reincarnated in another vessel. This is why it's always great for children to understand what true heroes are. This is why it's important for, and look, now that I'm as soon as I said that, that's when I felt the frequency go right into my left ear, but it wasn't as powerful because I got this earplug in. It's always the left ear that rings louder than the right ear. That's the heterodyne. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna end it here. But do everything you can to maintain your peace. And just always remember, you can't control anything outside of you. The most you can do is influence, but you can't control it. This is that's what they're doing. That's what they're trying to do. Because remember, you are born with a power within you that is far greater than any piece of technology. So, yeah, we're wrestling with what did you say? It said we're not wrestling with the flesh and blood, but the principalities, but against principalities, against powers, and against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against the spiritual wickedness in high places. And I think about myself, and I'm like, man, look, I tell people, like, I don't know, I have actually, I have accepted many things, and I have learned to let go of so many things, and learned to actually find the power in understanding and letting go of things that have happened in my past. Like, I tell people, I'm like, look, I was sexually assaulted and sexually abused as a child, probably as early as like 5 years old. And this is by a man, not by a woman, but a man. Then I remember growing up, I was, I used to have a babysitter that used to abuse me in front of her children, and I remember, yeah, like all that stuff. Also, it transitioned to me, developing in the heterodynamic some more, and then it basically like it didn't necessarily dawn on me until I got older, like into my 20s. Why throughout my childhood and my teenage years, I felt so sexual, like everything was sexual, and then I had this attachment to like almost as if like I gained, like I understood that there is a power, like there's a power in sexually dominating someone, and that was the principality that I had to fight against, lustful power, lustful desires, things of that sort. So then at some point I realized I can't keep doing what I was doing because something wasn't feeling right on the inside. That's when I stopped dating the way I used to. I stopped, going out to clubs, and I stopped, chasing women and stuff like that, because something wasn't right on the inside. Something wasn't right on the inside. And I never manipulated anyone. I never lied to anyone for sex. I was always straightforward. I was always very honest about what my intentions were. I never needed to convince anybody. Most of the time it was just me telling my experiences that got someone interested in me. You know, but basically, yeah. And it's funny because the more I start to pull myself, like, and going into like my, my mid 20s, when I'm about maybe 24 going into 25, that's when I really found myself like really, really trying to separate myself from the world and the things that everybody else was like really into. That's when I started to get this weird feeling where I'm starting to come upon a peace in this world. Like my soul and my spirit is starting to find a new sense of peace and fulfillment. And then I remember at one point, I don't know why, but like I remember around like the age of like 26, I started getting this feeling in me that was just like, I have a feeling that my 30s are going to be a trip. And I remember telling people that my 30s are about to be a trip. I have a feeling that my 30s are going to be a trip. But damn, I did not see this coming. Like, I knew it was going to be a trip, but I did not see this coming. So, but hey, God has been preparing me for many, many years. God has been preparing me for this. And I have a peace. I have a peace with myself, and I have a peace with the world, and understanding that everything that's wrong happening with people and all around me, it's their own battles and struggles with the demons that are attached to them. Everyone is fighting a demon that's either trying to attach itself or has attached themselves to them. Some people aren't fighting at all. They're just basically just giving over to it. Some people aren't fighting at all. And then you got some people who you can see are they're struggling with it. Like, for example, everybody loves DMX. I mean, well, for the most part, most people love, rapper DMX, right? Because it's like, if you understand where he came from, but you also understand that he wasn't all bad. Like, you could tell that DMX was always trying his best to be good. He had his struggles, but then you also realize, if you've been watching him well enough, you could see that he was trying, but he was always surrounded by so much negative energy that at times it was hard for him to fight back. That's where he would have these relapses, these moments where, like, I don't know, his, like he was going through things, or somebody was doing something to him, and I think, yeah, I can't really say too much because I can't even recall certain things, so I don't want to say nothing wrong. But yeah, you can tell that D was he was definitely going through a lot of things. And then when you understand what these people are doing, especially when it comes to, technology and the music industry or the entertainment industry in general, they come for you. They come for you because they also want to use you. And for the most part, when your eyes are open and you fully see the evils that are of the world, and then you walk down the street and you can literally look, you can almost basically see a person's soul. You can see the energy around their body. You can see that dark vibrational aura around their body. You just have this innate feeling, and it's so natural that, like, you don't even have to be within 5 feet of a person. You could basically look over at this person and you can tell that person got a demon riding them. You know, when like you could just be sitting, you could be sitting somewhere, you know, minding your own business, then all of a sudden somebody walk past behind you. You're not even paying attention to the people around you. All of a sudden you just get this chill over your whole body. That's when you realize somebody who is like affected by a negative entity or a dark spirit just walked past you, and their energy just interfered with your energy. You know, and yet still you do what is asked of you. You know, like it says in the Bible, you respect everyone, you show love, and you don't worry about what they're saying, what they're doing, because at the end, everyone is going to have to be judged. Everyone. Everyone. Now, um, yeah, this is the life that we're living in right now. This is the life that we're living in. Like we have fully come to the realization that yes, darkness is very real. We're not just dealing with human beings, but we're also dealing with energies and spirits that we can't actually see, but we can feel their presence. And those who don't fight it at all, those who don't fight those dark energies or spirits at all, they're usually the main ones who actively and consciously, or probably not even consciously, they breed, they love to see harmful things happen to other people. Like, quite honestly, I don't necessarily like to see people fight, especially if it's over something that could have been avoided. You know, because I'm not necessarily a violent person, but like, you know, if it's out of sport, it's like, okay, it's out of sport. But you know, things that kind of derive from an argument, I just be like, it didn't necessarily have to go that way. Like anything that starts from any physical altercation that basically starts from a verbal interaction, it's just like this whole thing could have been avoided. But I don't know. I digress. Anyway, yeah, I said what I needed to say. Always remember, protect your peace at all times. Do things that fulfill your life. They over here. They got my left knee all hemmed up. There's like an influx of well, it's like right now there's like a frequency. Hold on, let me see. So basically here, let me see. Yeah. So right here, there's a pulse. There's an actual pulse that's deep within the knee, just under the patella. There's a pulse. If I were to record it with my infrasound recorder, I could probably look online. Yeah, it's like it's pulsing like right on the inside, just under the patella. If I were to record with my infrasound recorder on my phone, and then try to figure out exactly which frequency it is, that because my recorder, it gives you like a visualization of every single frequency it picks up on, not just like the lines, but it also gives a numerical value of each frequency that it picks up. And if I were to actually take that information and just take my time and just research online, okay, what is this frequency? What is 40 hertz? What is, 82 hertz? What is 137 hertz? What are all these different frequencies related to? I could probably find that, like, hey, they have, they basically have found the resonant frequency for this particular part of my body, and they are trying to destroy it, you know. But normally I kind of get rid of it by, I use my body's natural energy, or my chi, and I pull, like I basically create like a magnetic, I create like this type of magnetic suction with my hands, and I can pull the energy out of my knee. And then also what I do too is, with my frequency generator app, I basically set a carrier wave of 285 hertz, which is the frequency used to heal cuts, burns, and bruises. And then I set the beat to 9.7 hertz. 9.7 hertz is the frequency used to actually stimulate healing of ligaments and cartilage in the body. Once I start playing that, I eventually start to feel, I don't feel the pain as much, and then eventually it kind of like goes away. Or I do something like this. So what I am doing right now, I have basically found the actual frequency. I found I have found the beam, right? Because when I pinch in front of where I feel the insertion point is, I now feel the pulse of something going, like it's a straight line too. It's a straight line, and it's pulsing in between my thumb and my index finger. When I move it upwards, right, when I start to backtrack it, I can basically find where it's leading to, right? And it comes here. It's going somewhere, right? The insertion point is like right here. Because when I'm doing this, it feels like something is in between my fingers. So while I'm doing this, it feels like something is in between my fingers. Now, if I follow that, a lot of times it'll go up in a particular direction, and then next thing you know, it usually somehow ends up either up here, somewhere up here, because remember, we're all connected to the system, through our pineal gland. Our pineal gland is also a major connection to our peripheral nervous system. And then, So anyway, I think I said everything I needed to say. Another long video, but hey, I don't know how long I'm still gonna be on this planet, so I gotta give off everything that I can when I can. Especially, with them constantly erasing my memory, I gotta get things off before it's too late, because, and I hope that sometimes, maybe if anything were to happen to me, someone would begin to record my videos, do like a screen recording of my videos, and to save these things, because I feel like at some point in the future, just like everything else, when people are telling the truth about something, or they're exposing things, eventually it may not be soon after they recorded it, but it may be just a few years afterwards. All of a sudden, someone will go back, and after everything that is exposed, they'll realize, wow, he was really telling the truth about everything. And now here we are in the future, and we're looking back on everything that he was trying to tell people. I just say, look, I did my part in the world. I did my part. So, hey, as always, take life one breath, one thought, one step, one day at a time. Peace.